How many times has Senator Joe Manchin dragged out negotiations, moved the goalposts, and then pulled his support from Democratic priorities in Congress? Last month, Manchin again raised hopes that he might support Joe Biden's signature domestic spending bill and give his party a much-needed win before the midterms. Democratic leaders negotiated, they made concessions, and appeared to be close to a deal. But last week, Manchin told colleagues that he wouldn't support key elements in the bill to combat climate change or raise taxes on the wealthy. In a statement, Manchin's office said Democrats needed to, quote, adjust to the economic realities the country faces to avoid taking steps that add fuel to the inflation fire. How in the world would a tax increase add to inflation? I think a lot of us are trying to figure that one out. But again, none of this is new. The bill that Manchin scuttled last week was a scaled-down version of President Biden's Build Back Better legislation. What happened with that bill? In December, Manchin went on Fox, of all places, to announce he was pulling his support. And he turned off his phone before a frustrated President Biden could call him. It's all become so routine that the Washington Post's Greg Sargent coined a new Capitol Hill term. Quote, let's inaugurate the Manchin rule. Until the senator actually shows he's operating in good faith, we'll presume otherwise. Joining me now is Stephen Smith, co-chair of West Virginia Can't Wait, a grassroots group that calls itself a, quote, political machine for people who aren't rich, and backs candidates in everything from local races to, perhaps, primary challenges against Democratic senators. Welcome, Stephen. Now, when you read reports that Senator Manchin was again negotiating on this social spending bill, did you believe, even briefly, that something might come out of it?
No. We have a saying here, West Virginia politicians don't really have D's or R's next to their names. They have dollar signs, right? They're all part of one wealthy good old boy club. And to get to your point, like the only hope we have of persuading these establishment politicians is to threaten to replace them. That's the language of power they understand. The threat we build, it has to be credible, permanent, fearless. It also has to be homegrown. And that's what we're doing in West Virginia Can't Wait. We've recruited and trained and supported 139 candidates, no corporate cash, up and down the ballot. And we can't do it alone.
Now, last week, Manchin pointed to last week's inflation numbers as the main reason for his decision to walk away from key measures on climate incentives and tax hikes on the wealthy. I mean, what's your response to his particular argument there?
I think it's the most convenient. It's a way of saying something without saying anything. The truth on the ground here is that what's dictating our day-to-day lives in West Virginia is pain and death. In my hometown, we're losing somebody every 2 days to overdose. We're in the middle of the nation's most concerning HIV outbreak because our government has criminalized harm reduction, suicide, poverty, mental illness at historic levels. And in West Virginia, there's two types of people. Most of us look at this pain and death and crisis, the high prices at the grocery store, and we try to ease that pain. We try to stop it. Senator Manchin, Senator Capito, they look at that pain and death and they try to profit off of it. That's the difference. It's not left versus right in West Virginia. It's the people at the bottom who are dying versus the people at the top who are profiting off of that pain. So yeah, Joe Manchin has never represented the people of West Virginia. He's too busy representing himself, Exxon, and Big Pharma, and he'll say whatever it takes to wiggle out of the tough spot he found himself.
Well, and you know what a lot of people will say, especially Democrats, when they hear this and they hear about your effort. They'll say, look, Manchin got elected in a state that overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump, voted twice overwhelmingly for Trump. I mean, what do you say to those that argue that Joe Manchin is the only Democratic Senate candidate who could ever have a chance in West Virginia as a Democrat?
I say come to West Virginia and actually be curious about this place. Hop in my car and we'll drive around. That we can absolutely defeat Joe Manchin and his machine in 2024 and beyond But it means that folks at the national level have to stop treating West Virginia like dirt, like a stereotype. They've got to invest more in those people at the bottom and invest less in chasing Joe Manchin. West Virginia can't wait. We're doing that hard work every day on the ground. We're getting people elected in a way that is deeply populist. But it remains to be seen if national leaders will have the courage to join us. We are open, our arms are open, our phone lines are open. We want to hear from anybody.
Now, your group focuses on supporting candidates who don't take corporate cash. Have you been approached by people looking to challenge Senator Manchin in the 2024 primary? And, if they do you think that they stand a chance at actually defeating him?
Yes, and it's going to be hard. We have been approached. People can make donations at replacejoemanchin.com. That site has been up for a year because, as Senator Sanders said, as you said, this ain't new. But it really is going to take a different way of looking at this. Over the last year, the national media, the national leadership of the party has played Manchin's game and made him stronger in the meanwhile, right? The donations have poured into Manchin from Exxon, from Big Pharma. So he is in a stronger position than he was a year ago because of the mistaken strategy of national Democrats and national media who want to ride this Manchin roller coaster. What we're offering people is an alternative, a way to build an infrastructure that not only can win in 2024, but can be around for the next 2, 3, 4 decades and offer people a real choice.
One question I have, looking at your group, you support candidates up and down the ballot, and the policies that you embrace are for working class folks. At the same time, you don't call yourself a progressive group. Are you avoiding using the word progressive intentionally?
It doesn't mean the same thing here it does elsewhere. I think there is a national progressive movement that people feel a part of. In West Virginia, there's no national project, Democrat or Republican, that has done much for us here. So we use our own language. We talk more about the day-to-day needs that people have. The issues that are popular here are fighting corruption and roads and schools. We think the people who are closest to the pain, closest to the problem, are also the people who ought to be solving it. So our project is a populist one more than a progressive or an ideological or a liberal one. We're trusting the people of West Virginia before we're trusting any national political project.